Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Hey guys, Epic History TV video. I'm ready. Hope everyone's doing well. My name's Connor. If you're new, I like to learn about things. Usually. Epic History TV, original link to the video, top of the description. Let's get learning. Napoleon crosses the Alps, the road to Marengo. Now, if I remember oversimplified correctly, he didn't cross it quite in the fashion that you see in that famous Napoleon painting of him kind of, heeled up on the horse on two legs. And I guess it was maybe not done with as majestic anyways, all right, let's learn. Road to Marengo. Let's go. Fantastic channel, Epic History. Let's go.
The year is 1800, and France has a new leader. 30-year-old First Consul Napoleon Bonaparte.
Congrats.
5 months have passed since the Brumaire coup cast France's directory into the dustbin of history. In its aftermath, Napoleon has skillfully outmaneuvered his co-conspirators. And in a new constitution, confirmed by a massively rigged referendum, he's been confirmed as First Consul. Alongside new consuls Cambaceres and Lebrun. Napoleon wields enormous executive power and is eager to use it. First, he offers an amnesty to royalist rebels in the Vendée, helping to pacify the region and freeing up troops. Then he creates a new national bank to restore confidence and growth to France's dysfunctional economy. He strengthens the gendarmerie, the paramilitary police, and orders it to take ruthless action against bandits who infest the French countryside. And he transforms French government, personally appointing prefects to govern every French département, as well as sub-prefects and even the mayors of larger towns. Each achievement is trumpeted by the few newspapers still allowed to print.
So the prefect is akin to a governor of an area.
Trumpeted by the few newspapers still allowed to print, and which are now entirely under state control. But there is no reason to doubt Napoleon's immense popularity.
I don't know why I'm clapping a lot when it's like clearly a takeover by force, and it is not a democracy whatsoever. I've fallen. Anyways, so obviously, I'm not saying that I would love this type of government. I just get carried away sometimes, all right?
But there is no reason to doubt Napoleon's immense popularity, and that his remarkable energy has begun to drag France out of chaos and torpor. However, his reputation has been forged in war, and with France facing another military crisis, he must quickly turn the situation around, or his rule could end as suddenly as it began.
I offered peace to the Austrian Emperor. He did not wish it. We now have to take it by the throat. Napoleon, 13th of May, 1800.
France is threatened on two fronts by the armies of Austria, which has 200,000 men in the field. In Germany, France's most powerful force, General Moreau's Army of the Rhine, is poised to launch a counterattack. Moreau is a skilled commander with influential friends who had himself turned down an invitation to lead a coup against the Directory. Napoleon, warily respectful for now, offers advice but will leave Moreau to wage his own campaign. It is in Italy that Napoleon identifies the greatest threat and the greatest opportunity.
Interesting.
3 years ago, Napoleon's stunning victories had left France dominating northern Italy. But in 1799, forces of the Second Coalition, led by the great Russian general Alexander Suvorov, had won a series...
What does Cis mean? Like Cisalpine Republic, Cisalpine Gaul, I remember, like, just like next to Alps or something?
Led by the great Russian general Alexander Suvorov, had won a series of crushing victories over the French. He had then been ordered to Switzerland. But before he could get there, General Massena's victory at Zurich thwarted coalition plans to unite their armies and staved off disaster for France.
Classic.
The unpredictable Emperor Paul...
Innsbruck. I've been there. Beautiful city. Or beautiful... Yeah, I'd call it a city. Yeah, it's pretty big. Just surrounded by mountains on all sides. Beautiful. We drove from Munich to Innsbruck. Didn't go to Zurich, went to Bern? And then through up to Paris.
The unpredictable Emperor Paul, incensed by British provocations, had then withdrawn Russia from the Second Coalition. But
sorry.
Paul, incensed by British provocations, had then withdrawn Russia from the Second Coalition.
What British provocations?
But nearly 100,000 Austrians remain in northern Italy, under the aggressive and able leadership of General Melas. French forces, on the other hand, are scattered, outnumbered, and desperately short of supplies. It's nothing new for France's Army of Italy. But even the arrival of the great General Massena to take charge barely lifts morale. It is a fragile position, but secretly, Napoleon is planning a grand strategic maneuver to turn the tables on the Austrians and crush Melas's army. At Dijon, he has begun to assemble a new Army of the Reserve under the nominal command of General Berthier. Veterans and conscripts alike are scraped together from depots, provinces, and garrisons until a force of 60,000 men has been gathered. A more cautious strategist may have chosen to reinforce Massena from the west, using established supply routes to shore up the front. But driving the enemy back on his own supply depots is likely to lead to stalemate. Instead, Napoleon plans to swing south through the Alps mountains and emerge behind General Melas, cutting off his supplies and his escape. It is among the most daring strategic plans in history, but it will depend on secrecy and surprise.
I love how you're either the sort of mediocre rulers might get by with not having some embarrassing defeat or fall from grace, but I love how the people who are either in the big loser camp or the giant winner camp take the same route, and you have to risk it. Either take the safer route, secured supply lines, and go here, likely towards a stalemate, or wager or risk either a gigantic loss or a gigantic win.
A swift and safe passage through the mountains, and for Massena to hold the line in Italy as long as he can. But while Napoleon's army is still assembling in France, Massena comes under heavy attack.
You know what I mean there, though? It's like either you go through here and hook up with Massena here and just make sure you don't lose too much, or go here, making Massena probably have to do a little more work, but cutting off and being confident in cutting off and defeating the army here.
On the 6th of April, General Melas launches an offensive, while General Ott makes a diversionary attack on Genoa. His main force moves to cut the coastal road at Savorna, driving a wedge between General Suchet's forces and General Massena.
Suchet.
The French launched desperate counterattacks to break the encirclement, and General Soult wins a brilliant local victory over Ott at Montefache. But the French are heavily outnumbered. After 2 weeks hard fighting, Massena is forced to withdraw into the city of Genoa, where he is besieged by land and sea. General Suchet is harried all the way back to the Var River on the French frontier. News of the Army of Italy's defeat disturbs Napoleon. He is relying on Massena to fix Melas's attention. If Genoa falls before he arrives in Italy, he will be a sitting duck, trapped between the Austrians and the mountains.
Guys, I cannot... Driving through this area, I forget if it was... I think it was between maybe Innsbruck and when we were going into Switzerland. I don't remember exactly if it was before Innsbruck on our way from Munich to Innsbruck or from Innsbruck into Switzerland or whatnot. But there were sections of very well-maintained roads, very good, but sketchy. If you're, like, I've been on some, like, declines, right? If your brakes give out, you're dead. You are so dead. You're dead 50 times over, okay? That is how sketchy some of the passages, even if the infrastructure that you have today was there for Napoleon back in these times, it would still be difficult to get people through there. And so I can't imagine. I'm sure maybe he took some routes that were pre-looked out and the least sketchy areas. But I've never been in the Rockies, driven through the Rockies, but so sketchy. Sketchy is the perfect word. Sketchy, sketchy, sketchy. You knew your brakes are going to work, but if they gave out, just say goodbye. You're done. You're dead.
On the 6th of May...
I'm not talking about everywhere, but in certain areas, the road absolutely was like that.
Napoleon travels to Geneva to join the Army of the Reserve and order the offensive to begin.
An army can pass always, and at any season, wherever 2 men can set their feet. Napoleon. Interesting.
The Alps. 500 miles long, more than 100 miles wide. Their highest peaks more than 15,000 feet. They can be traversed by several well-known mountain passes. But these are narrow, winding trails, vulnerable to avalanches, with no fodder for horses and mules. It's a daunting challenge for an army of 50,000 with 40 guns and hundreds of wagons.
Risky.
Napoleon has decided the bulk of his forces will cross at the Great St. Bernard Pass, at an elevation of 8,100 feet. On the 15th of May,
It's crazy now thinking that I likely was driving in places, or was in the car in places where Napoleon's troops were marching. All right, I'll stop talking about me over there. Sorry.
On the 15th of May, General Lannes and his advance guard begin the climb. Even in late spring, the mountains are blanketed in deep snow. To reduce the risk of avalanche, they march at night and early morning. A strict silence is enforced. The only noise, the howling wind and crunching snow. The barrel of each cannon weighs around half a ton. General Marmont, commanding the artillery, comes up with the idea of laying them in hollowed-out tree trunks so they can be hauled like sleds. Lannes' advance guard snakes up the 8-mile trail. It's 5.
Somehow, the idea of transporting those cannon barrels downslope is more daunting to me than upslope, because of just the damage it could do if it rolls into troops. And I mean, you're not catching up with it if it gains speed.
5 hours of grueling uphill marching, and at several points the men are close to mutiny. But they make it. At 8,100 feet, they reach the summit of the pass and the St. Bernard Hospice, where food and rest has been prepared.
Downhill from here.
The rest of the army completes the crossing over the next 10 days. It is a testament to General Berthier's planning that just 5 men and a single cannon are lost.
That's crazy. That is
Contrary
insane.
to Napoleonic propaganda, the first consul made the crossing on a sure-footed mule,
Yeah, so they were right in oversimplified.
trailing the army,
Not the amazing
rather than
painting.
leading it on a charger. Lannes' advance guard presses forward into the Aosta Valley. They sweep aside small Austrian outposts, then surprise and scatter a whole battalion at Châtillon.
Châtillon.
But a nasty surprise awaits at Fort Bard. The fort, held by the indomitable Captain Bernkopf and 400 troops, dominates the pass with its heavy artillery. Infantry and cavalry can skirt around it by means of a goat path, but artillery and wagons will be seriously delayed until Fort Bard is taken. A first assault by French grenadiers fails, with 200 casualties. The fort remains defiant, and for Napoleon, the clock is ticking. In Italy, the French position is increasingly desperate. On the 15th of May, the garrison of Savorna surrenders. In Genoa, Massena conducts a brave and active defense, though in one sortie, General Soult is badly wounded and captured. But now, starvation looms. There are already reports of cannibalism.
Jesus.
Napoleon cannot wait for Fort Bard to fall. The army must push on without its guns and baggage, and hope to capture supply. Must push on without its guns and baggage, and hope to capture.
You know, like sometimes you go when you're really hungry, you don't have much food at home, and you go to the fridge and you open it, and there's not much in there, and then you just leave. But then you're a little bit hungry, more hungry later on, a little bit hungrier, and you go back, and what wasn't appealing to you is a little more appealing. Well, imagine reaching the desperation where you are willing to eat another person.
The army must push on without its guns and baggage, and hope to capture supplies from the Austrians. On the 23rd of May, Lannes attacks the enemy at Ivrea, taking the town and citadel. 3 days later, he defeats General Hadig near the village of Romano. The Austrians fall back on Turin. With 30,000 French troops now pouring into Lombardy, Napoleon has done it. He has completed one of the most famous marches in history. Italy is wide open, and the Austrians are scrambling to respond.
We have struck here like lightning. The enemy can hardly believe it. Napoleon to Joseph Bonaparte, 24th of May, 1800.
Melas quickly grasps the significance of Napoleon's maneuver. He immediately recalls Elsnitz's corps from the French frontier and sends his forces to guard the River
Surprise.
Po crossings. He assumes the French will march to relieve Genoa. But despite the desperate
Milan,
plight
or
of
what?
Massena and his starving garrison, Napoleon turns east towards Milan. General Vukasovic
He's
holds
so
the
ballsy. This is what I loved about Hannibal too. Is Hannibal on the Italian peninsula just seemed to just have one mode, and it was just the most ballsy forward move, right? And it just something so stupid but admirable when they win, and it takes a different kind of person to act this way. To one, go over the Alps instead of going south through France, the safer way, and relieving Massena instead of going, and then even when you cross the Alps, going to Milan, just a special human.
city, but heavily outnumbered, he retreats towards Mantua. On the 2nd of June, Napoleon enters the capital of Lombardy. But unlike the celebrations of 1796, this time, French troops are received in cold silence.
You don't get a
Locals
choice.
have not forgotten Napoleon's brutal crackdowns of the past.
It's gonna be more brutal.
Regardless, in Milan, his army can
Sorry.
Regardless, in Milan, his army can finally rest and requisition much-needed supplies. 3 days later, reinforcements arrive from the Army of the Rhine, General Moncey's division, which has made its own arduous alpine crossing through the Gotthard Pass. The first consul is on the cusp of achieving his grand encirclement. Back in the mountains, Fort Bard finally surrenders. But its stubborn defense means Napoleon will be short of guns and ammunition in the days ahead. Then, on the 8th of June, disastrous news arrives. Napoleon has asked too much of Massena. For weeks, Genoa has been a scene of utter horror. Several thousand civilians have starved to death or died of disease, along with 4,000 French soldiers. General Massena, his own health broken, and furious at Napoleon's failure to relieve him, negotiates an honorable surrender, which will allow his surviving troops to return to France. The fall of Genoa frees Ott and 12,000 soldiers to march north to...
How do you do something like this? Like, I would love to know, like, when you're talking, okay, we're going to surrender, but you allow our troops to go. And so do you just, like, wait there and wait to make sure, okay, all of your troops are far enough away for our agreed escape route for you not to pull a fast one on us and be like, oh, never mind, we're going to kill you or capture you and take Genoa as well. And so how do you assure in a defeat like this that they will either respect your terms of surrender or just ensure that as much trust as there might be in respecting the surrender, that even if you didn't, you still wouldn't be able to catch us leaving, you know? I would love to know just a video. I would love to watch a video or videos on just how armies do this. Like, I was so confused to, not confused, I can't think of the right word, of when, you know, I was learning about some battles in England where, you know, the besieged castle or, you know, area, guarded area would be given the option sometimes to stop the fighting. Like the attacker would allow, you know, all right, fighting stop, and would allow you to send a messenger to get an army to fight the attacker, and then be like, okay, if we win, then you have to give up. If we win then and you still don't give up, then if we win, there is no mercy. or just saying like, no, we'll stick it out, and then also no mercy. I would love to know just how that was honored, because in warfare, it's like, this is the death of my people or the death of your people. If I think that I can get you to surrender and still get you, and it will increase my chances of survival, I might do it. Unless there are some bad ramifications down the road of people finding out like I did this horrible backtracking of the rules of war that would have bad actions on me. And so at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to make me stop going back on my word is if I know there's enough repercussion for me if I fail or if I do that and then I'm attacked later, you know? How do they guarantee this
All
stuff?
of Genoa frees Ott and 12,000 soldiers to march north to join Melas. Napoleon is determined that the Austrians will not now slip past him and escape his trap. And so he divides his army to cover all possible routes east.
Unlike
For
Napoleon,
once,
usually?
it is Napoleon's forces that are overextended.
Right.
And it is Lannes' advance guard that will pay the price. With 7,000 men, Lannes has secured a bridgehead across the River Po, near Belgioioso. On the 8th of June, he presses forward, intending to drive the enemy from the Stradella defile. But unknown to Lannes, he is on a collision course with General Ott's division, marching north from Genoa. He is about to stumble into a battle.
I'm sorry, I can't blame Massena. I mean, Napoleon was taking the longer route, or you know, the risky over the Alps, and even after getting it, not relieving him, it's hard to
Out from Genoa.
It's hard to blame it on him, you know.
He is about to stumble into a battle, outnumbered 2-1.
Bones cracked in my division like glass in a hailstorm. Lands on the Battle of Montebello, 9th of June, 1800. Bones cracked.
On the morning of the 9th of June, Lannes' advance guard fights a running battle with what it believes to be an isolated Austrian unit, driving it back towards the walled town of Casteggio. In fact, it is General Ott's advance guard. What rolling hills and tall rye fields hide from view is the rest of Ott's command, 16,000 strong, following up close behind. Around noon, the French spot Austrian infantry holding a ridge to the south. Assuming it's the enemy rearguard, Lannes orders a brigade to swing round and attack. Meanwhile, his cavalry continues to Casteggio. They scatter the enemy in their path and break into the town, only to be surprised and countercharged by a much larger Austrian cavalry force. On the heights, the French make steady progress.
Think about that. Think about being in that. About being one of these cavalrymen as you're going in, and now you're among a bunch of think about being in that situation of like, now you're running away and you're enveloped by a bunch of other men on horseback trying to kill you. Oh my God.
By a much larger Austrian cavalry force. On the heights, the French make steady progress until 4,000 Austrian reinforcements hove into view. Soon, Lannes' men are being pulverized by artillery fire. His force is hard-pressed everywhere, and still, enemy reinforcements continue to arrive.
It's like, oh, there are some guys. All right, you keep chasing them, we'll take them. Whoa, they have way more here. Okay, whoa,
But Ott is cautious and holds back a large reserve. The broken ground leaves him unsure of enemy strength. and he has orders not to be drawn into a major battle. At 2 p.m, Lannes receives his own reinforcements. 6,000 men of General Victor's division.
Heron.
Lannes wastes no time. Victor's 43rd line renews the attack on the right. The Austrian line buckles, falling back to a small stream. The rest of Victor's men race towards Casteggio. Under a hail of cannon fire, their advance stalls. But the 6th Light Infantry is able to cross the Coppa River to the north. Around the same time, French infantry take Casa Il Giardiana, splitting the Austrians in two.
Where's Napoleon?
Fearing he will be outflanked, General Schellenberg, commanding the Austrian center, orders a slow withdrawal.
To where?
Seeing this, Lannes sends the 96th line forward to storm Casteggio. With his men
Montebello.
tired and darkness falling, Ott orders a retreat to Voghera. The Battle of Montebello, as it becomes known, was a hard-fought soldiers' battle in which French determination triumphed in the face of Austrian numbers and artillery. As Napoleon inspects the battlefield, he is greeted by an old friend, General Louis Desaix, who has escaped from Egypt during a temporary armistice. Just a year older than Napoleon, Desaix is another of France's brilliant young generals, who will play a crucial role in the days ahead. He is immediately given command of 2 divisions. Montebello is a glorious victory for Lannes. Napoleon will one day reward him with the title Duke of Montebello. But the larger picture is unchanged.
Imagine being there like, hey, I remember what a good job you did over here, Duke of Montebello. Thank you, sir. Lance.
But the larger picture is unchanged. Napoleon still desperately seeks his decisive battle, the victory that may end the war with Austria, and will surely make his position as first consul unassailable. But Napoleon allows fear of the Austrians' escape to dominate his thinking, and once more he divides his forces. Just as Melas is ordering his forces to concentrate at Alessandria for battle. Napoleon has
Well, actually, did it work the first time? I guess you got maybe a
Napoleon has misjudged his opponent. He is headed towards a nasty surprise. A bloody battle that will cost him dear and threaten the future of the consulate. Napoleon needed a win in Italy. His last campaign, in Egypt, had been scuppered at the Battle of the Nile by the Royal Navy.
I'm shocked that he even got out of here. I'm surprised he made it to the Nile opening, and I'm surprised he escaped.
And a certain Rear Admiral
seems so
Horatio
risky.
Nelson. We've got a great new video on this decisive naval encounter, featuring stunning original 3D graphics. And if you want to see it now, you can head over to prestige streaming service Nebula. There you can also watch our video on the Battle of Cape St. Vincent, with Trafalgar coming soon. And we're far from the only history creator on Nebula. If you enjoy our videos on lesser-known conflicts, then you'll love Neo's series Underexposure, which looks at neglected yet fascinating stories from our past, including the Tenerife air disaster, Kuwait oil fires, and the East Germany balloon escape. These are captivating stories, explored in meticulous detail with amazing archive film and great explanatory graphics. Underexposure is one of many Nebula original series which you can't watch anywhere else. Nebula has content from hundreds of other creators, and with Nebula's new
I'm going to play through most of this, guys. Obviously, love this video. It's fantastic. Epic history, never misses. And would appreciate any comments down below. I don't have much to say other than what I've said in the video. It's amazing. Very, I don't know if they're lucky or competent moves by Napoleon, but definitely competent moves by people like Lance, and just fantastic video as always. Love y'all. Hopefully I'll see you guys next video. All right. Make sure if you're interested in this stuff, use all the promo codes and links from Epic History. They're a great channel. They deserve any credit that they're due, you know?
You can quickly find whatever you're after, from original movies and podcasts to documentaries across entertainment, gaming, sport, and of course, history.
We're gonna go ski.
The history homepage shows just how much Nebula has to offer, including more Nebula originals only available to subscribers. Nebula is a streaming service built by creators to offer a superior experience to the clickbait, chaos, and ads of other video platforms. Here there are no ads and no algorithm, just hand-picked creators you can trust, working hard to create original, quality content. It's the most interesting, fastest-growing independent video platform on the internet. And Nebula fairly rewards its creators. So if you sign up, you're actively supporting channels like ours. On Nebula, you can watch our entire catalogue ad-free and see new videos like our Nelson's Battle series at least a week before they're released on YouTube. All this and a massive discount for Epic History viewers. The link in our video description gets you 40% off the annual plan. That's just $30 a year for ad-free viewing, exclusive content, and the knowledge you're helping your favorite creators build a sustainable platform for the future.
Again, guys, you know, make sure to use, if, I'm not saying anyone has to do this, but if you're interested, right, just make sure, even if you don't care about the money saved, to use the /Epic History, use the promo codes, original link to the video, top of the description, all right? Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time. We can keep learning. Bye, guys.